The night was cold, silent, and heavy with mist. John sat alone in his wooden cabin, staring at the weak fire burning in the fireplace. The wood cracked softly, filling the empty house with little sounds. He had lived alone for years, far from the town, far from people. Since his wife had passed away, silence was his only company. But that night something broke the silence. At first it was faint, like a soft hum, almost like the wind. Then it grew clearer. A whisper, words, not in the air but close. Right outside his door, John froze. His hand gripped the arm of the chair. He thought maybe it was his imagination, maybe the loneliness playing tricks again. But then he heard it, soft and trembling. Don't cry. If he doesn't want us, we'll leave. The voice was not human. It was gentle but strange, with a rhythm unlike earth speech. John's heart began to pound. He stood slowly, careful not to make the floor creak. The firelight painted shadows across his face as he reached for the old rifle leaning against the wall. He didn't cock it yet, just held it, just in case. Step by step he moved toward the door. The whispers continued. Another voice joined, the soft sobbing of a child. Mom, will he send us away? No, little star. Maybe he will help, maybe, the first voice said, breaking with fear. John's breath caught. Outside his home, a mother and child, but not human. He pushed the door open slowly and the cold night rushed inside. His eyes searched the porch. That's when he saw them. A figure sat curled against the wooden steps. The mother's skin was pale silver, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her arms wrapped around a small child who shivered against her chest. The child's eyes lifted, big, glowing like tiny lanterns in the dark. They locked onto John's face, wide with fear but also with hope. The mother flinched as the door creaked. She held the child tighter, shielding it. Please, she whispered. If you do not want us, we will go. John's mouth went dry. He had seen strange things before. Strange lights in the sky, rumors of visitors from beyond, but never like this. Not two living beings at his doorstep, fragile and lost. The child's gaze pierced him. Not threatening, not violent, only desperate. For a long moment, John said nothing. The night seemed to hold its breath. He lowered the rifle slowly. Why are you here? His voice was rough, suspicious, but not cruel. The mother lifted her face. Her eyes were soft but filled with shadows of pain. We had nowhere else. John studied them. Their clothes were torn, thin, not made for Earth's cold. The child's little hands shook. He could see they were exhausted, hungry, and scared. But still, part of him hesitated. He had promised himself never again to let anyone into his quiet world. The pain of losing his wife had closed that door forever. Yet here they were. Two strangers, two aliens, whispering on his porch. The child spoke again, voice trembling like broken glass. We can leave, sir. Please don't be angry. John felt something shift inside. The words hit him like a blade. He remembered nights after his wife died, when he too whispered into the empty dark, telling himself he didn't belong anywhere. He had known loneliness. He had known rejection. Now these two stood in that same place. His hand opened wider on the rifle. Finally, he leaned it against the wall and stepped back. You can come in, he said. The word surprised even him. The mother's lips parted in shock. Truly? I said, come in, before you freeze out there. She stood carefully, helping the child rise. Their movements were weak, tired, but graceful. As they stepped into the warm cabin, the firelight touched their faces. John saw lines of weariness across the mother's features and in the child's eyes, fear mixed with hope. For a moment, none of them spoke. Only the crackle of the fire filled the silence. John pulled out an old blanket from the corner and tossed it to them. Wrap up, you'll catch your death, the mother bowed her head. Thank you, human. John sat back in his chair, but his eyes never left them. Questions burned in his mind. Who were they? Why were they here? What danger followed them? But he did not ask yet. The child leaned close to the mother, whispering, See, Mom. He didn't send us away. John heard every word. It struck his heart harder than he expected. The fire flickered. Shadows danced. Outside, the mist thickened, and far in the forest, a sound stirred. Something was moving out there, watching, waiting. But inside, in the small cabin, three souls shared the same silence. And though none of them knew it yet, the night at the door was only the beginning. The fire burned brighter now, chasing away the chill of the night. Yet inside John's cabin, the air was still heavy with unease. The alien mother sat close to the flames, wrapping the blanket tightly around her child. The boy pressed against her side, his glowing eyes scanning the cabin's walls as if every shadow could hide danger. John leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, watching them. He had let them in. That much was done. But the question burned in his mind. Had he just invited danger across his doorstep? He cleared his throat. "So, who are you? And why my door?" The mother hesitated. Her silver skin reflected the flickering firelight, making her look both fragile and strange. "We only wanted warmth. A place to rest. We did not mean to trouble you." "That doesn't answer me," John said, his voice steady but low. His eyes narrowed. "People don't just show up here. Not humans. Not your kind either." The mother lowered her gaze. "It is safer if you do not know." That answer made John's jaw tighten. Secrets. He hated secrets. Secrets had cost him before. But before he could push again, the child's soft voice slipped into the air. "We were running," the boy whispered. The mother's eyes darted to her child, a flash of warning, but it was too late. John had heard. "Running?" John asked. His voice carried suspicion, but also curiosity. The boy nodded timidly. "From bad people." The mother pressed her lips together and pulled the child close, as if words alone could put them in danger. John leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at them with sharp eyes. "Bad people? Soldiers? Hunters? What kind of trouble are you bringing to my door?" The mother flinched. Her silence was answer enough. For a moment only the fire spoke. Outside, the wind brushed against the cabin walls, carrying with it the faint call of an owl. John felt the weight of their presence pressing into his small home, pressing into the life he had carefully kept empty. He rose from his chair and stepped toward the table. He poured water into a cup and slid it across to them. The mother hesitated before lifting it to her lips. The boy drank quickly, like he had not tasted water in days. "You're both half-starved," John muttered. "When's the last time you ate?" The mother's answer was soft. "Too long," John sighed. He pulled bread and dried meat from his small pantry, setting it down in front of them. The mother eyed the food with suspicion, but the child reached eagerly. She stopped him with a gentle hand and studied John's face. Only after a long pause did she allow the boy to take a piece. As the child chewed, his glowing eyes kept darting to John, studying him, questioning him, almost as if trying to read his soul. John sat back down, the floor creaking under his boots. He could not stop the storm of thoughts racing through his mind. Who were they? Why were they hunted? And most of all, why did they end up here at his door of all places? The mother finally spoke again, her voice quiet but firm. "You were kind to let us in. But you must know, it is not safe. For you, for us. If they find us here—" "They?" John cut in. "Who's they?" Her silence stretched, thick and heavy. Then, almost as if her strength cracked for just a second, she whispered, "Soldiers. From my world. They hunt us because we do not belong." John felt a cold wave run through him. Soldiers. Trouble was coming, and it was the kind that didn't knock politely. He stared into the fire, his hands curling into fists. Part of him wanted to throw them out, shut the door, and return to his solitude. But another part, the part that remembered pain, loneliness, and nights of whispering into the dark, could not do it. Not yet. The boy set his food down suddenly. His little hand reached into the folds of his torn clothing. When it came out, John saw something small and glowing. A bracelet. Strange symbols glimmered faintly along its surface. The child whispered, "It warns us." John's eyes narrowed. "Warns you of what?" The boy looked at his mother. She shook her head quickly, but the boy's words tumbled out anyway. "When danger comes near, it shines." John leaned closer, the firelight catching the strange object. He had never seen anything like it, and he had seen plenty during his years in the war. The mother reached for the bracelet, pulling it back. "Enough, do not speak more." The child bit his lip and went quiet. John leaned back, uneasy. The cabin suddenly felt smaller, the shadows heavier. He could not tell if they were helpless refugees or a threat that had just walked into his home. The fire popped loudly, making the boy jump. The mother stroked his hair to calm him, her silver fingers trembling. John looked at the two of them, then at the door. The world outside was still dark, but something deep in his gut told him this night was only the beginning of bigger trouble. As if to prove him right, the boy's bracelet flickered faintly once, then again. John stiffened. "What does that mean?" The child whispered almost too quietly to hear. "They're close." The cabin had grown tense. The bracelet's faint glow painted the child's small hand in pale light. John couldn't take his eyes off it. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow but steady, warning of something unseen. The mother pulled the bracelet close to her chest, hiding it beneath the folds of her clothing. "It is nothing," she whispered, though her trembling voice betrayed the lie. John leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Nothing? That thing shines like a lantern in the dark. You expect me to believe it's nothing?" The mother pressed her lips together. Her child clung to her arm, whispering softly in words John didn't understand. For a long moment, John thought she might stay silent. Then she sighed, her shoulders slumping as if carrying a weight too heavy to hide. "You let us into your home," she said quietly. "You gave us warmth. Perhaps you deserve the truth." John's stomach tightened. This was it. The mother shifted closer to the fire. Its glow made her silver skin shimmer like water under moonlight. Her voice, though quiet, carried the sharpness of pain. "We were once part of a great colony," she began. "Not here. Not on your world, far away. My people lived in peace, raising our young, building our homes beneath skies filled with twin suns. We were not warriors. We were farmers, healers, teachers." Her child listened, his glowing eyes fixed on her as if hearing the story for the first time. "But peace," her voice cracked. "Peace makes you weak in the eyes of others. The soldiers came from another clan. Cruel men with power in their hands and hunger in their eyes. They wanted our land, our lives, everything. We refused to bow, so they burned our homes. They took the strong and killed the rest. Only a few of us escaped." John sat silent, his rough hands gripping his knees. He had heard stories like this before, from men broken by war, from villages turned to ashes. The same cruelty, the same greed, only with alien names. The mother looked down at her child, brushing his hair with trembling fingers. "We ran that night. My mate was taken. I had only him left." She pulled the boy closer. "Since then we move, we hide, we survive. The soldiers hunt us. They do not forgive. If they find us, they will take him. And they will kill me." The child shivered, but his small hands held tightly to hers, as if drawing strength from her touch. John let out a slow breath. He could see it now, not just refugees, but survivors. Not just strangers, but a family hanging by a thread. He remembered the nights when he held his wife's hand, swearing to protect her only to lose her anyway. The grief had nearly killed him then. Now, staring at this mother, he saw the same fight, the same desperate fire to keep a loved one safe at any cost. Still, questions burned in him. "And that?" He pointed to the bracelet. "What does it do?" The mother hesitated, then opened her hand. The child lifted the bracelet gently, as if handling something sacred. The strange symbols flickered faintly in rhythm, glowing then fading like breath. "It is old," the mother explained. "From my ancestors. It warns of danger, yes, but more. It senses life, movement, intent. It is why we have lived this long. Without it, we would already be gone." John stared, his soldier's mind turning. A tool that sensed danger before it struck. No wonder they had survived so far. The boy's soft voice broke the silence. "It also remembers," John frowned. "Remembers?" The mother glanced at her son, then nodded slowly. "The bracelet holds echoes of our people. Memories, songs, faces of the ones we lost. It is more than metal. It is a piece of home." John's chest tightened. A piece of home. He understood that feeling too well. He leaned back, staring into the fire. The crackle of burning wood filled the silence between them. Outside, the night seemed darker, the forest quieter, as if even the trees listened. Finally, John asked the question that had been burning in him since they arrived. "Why here? Why my door?" The mother lifted her eyes to his. For the first time, she looked directly into him as if searching his soul. "Because," she whispered, "we heard stories of a human who fought in his own war, who survived when others did not. A man who lived alone, away from his kind. We thought maybe he would understand." John's heart skipped a beat. How could they know? His past was buried deep, spoken only in the darkest nights when grief tore at him. Yet here she was, laying it bare. Before he could respond, the bracelet flickered again, brighter, sharper. The child's eyes widened. "Mother, they're closer now." The fire hissed as a log split in two. The cabin walls groaned against the wind. John stood, his jaw hardening. He reached for the rifle by the door. "Then we don't have much time." The mother clutched her child tightly, fear sharp in her eyes. The hidden past had been spoken, but the future was now rushing toward them, fast, dangerous, and unstoppable. The night outside the cabin grew heavier, pressing against the wooden walls as though the darkness itself carried weight. The fire still burned, but its light no longer felt safe. Every flicker of shadow looked alive. Every sound in the forest seemed sharper. The bracelet glowed again, brighter than before. The child held it close, whispering words John could not understand, almost like a prayer. John stood near the door, rifle in hand, his body stiff, his jaw set. "They're here, aren't they?" The mother clutched her child tighter. Her silver skin seemed paler in the firelight, her eyes wide and sharp. "Yes, they are close. They never stop. They will not stop until we are taken." Her words were heavy, final, like a sentence already written. John's eyes narrowed.
"How many?"
"Too many," she whispered. "But even one is enough." John didn't ask more. He knew soldiers. He knew their patience, their skill, their cruelty. If they were near, they would be watching already. The cabin fell silent except for the fire's crackle. Then crunch. A sound outside. A boot. John stiffened. His finger brushed the trigger, though he didn't raise the rifle yet. Another sound followed, branches snapping. Then whispers in the trees. Low, harsh, and foreign. The child whimpered, his glowing eyes filling with tears. The mother pressed a hand to his mouth, holding him close, her own body trembling. John's mind raced. If soldiers had tracked them here, he was already marked. His cabin, his quiet life, his peace. It was all gone the moment they stepped through his door. But still, he didn't regret letting them in. He moved quickly, blowing out the small oil lamp on the table. The cabin plunged into deeper shadows, the fire now the only light. He grabbed a heavy coat and threw it toward the mother. "Hide your glow," he hissed. She pulled the coat around her child, covering his shining eyes. His little breaths came fast, almost shaking the fabric. Another crunch outside. Closer this time. Then silence. A silence that cut into John's chest like a blade. "Stay down," John muttered. He pressed his back against the wall beside the door, rifle ready. His heartbeat thundered in his ears, but his hands were steady. The mother crouched low, pulling her child against her body, whispering soft, steady words to calm him. A shadow moved across the window. John caught it in the corner of his eye, a tall figure, armored, its outline sharp against the pale mist outside. Then another. Two shapes moving like predators circling prey. John's grip on the rifle tightened. He could almost feel their eyes scanning the cabin, searching for weakness, for movement, for fear. The mother whispered, barely audible, "They can smell us. They can sense the child. We cannot stay hidden for long." John swallowed hard. He had faced enemies before, human ones. But this was different. These weren't raiders or thieves. These were trained hunters from another world. And they were here at his door. Suddenly, bang! The front door rattled as something heavy slammed against it. The child cried out, muffled by his mother's hand. John raised his rifle, pointing it at the door, every muscle tense. A voice came from outside, deep, harsh, alien. The words twisted and rough, but John understood the tone: command, threat, demand. The mother shivered. "They want me to give him up," she whispered, eyes wide. "If I hand over my child, maybe they let me live." "But they never let me live," John's jaw hardened. "That's not an option." Another bang, louder. The door shook in its frame. The boy's bracelet flared, shining so bright it lit the whole cabin in eerie blue. John could see the mother's face clearly now. Fear etched deep, but fire burning beneath it. The soldiers outside growled to each other, their boots crunching against the frost. One of them circled toward the back of the cabin. Another lingered at the front. They were surrounding the house like wolves. John's mind raced. He had traps outside, old hunting lines, wire, spikes meant for animals. Maybe, just maybe, they would slow them down. But against soldiers? Against armor? It wasn't enough. He took a deep breath. "Listen to me," he said to the mother. "If this door breaks, you take the boy and run through the back. Don't stop. Don't look back. Understand?" The mother's eyes filled with conflict. "And you?" John checked his rifle, his voice flat but strong. "I'll hold them." Before she could argue, the door shook again, harder this time, the wood beginning to crack. Splinters rained down. The child whimpered, clutching the glowing bracelet close to his chest. Outside, another voice joined the first. This one darker, colder, dripping with malice. The kind of voice that promised no mercy. John set his feet, his rifle raised, the firelight gleaming on his hard eyes. The mother pulled her child close, whispering against his hair. The boy whispered back, words trembling. "Will he keep us safe, Mama?" Her answer was soft, shaking, but filled with belief. "Yes, he will." And just as she spoke, the door racked wide open with a violent crash. Shadows spilled inside. The hunters had arrived. The cabin door crashed open with a deafening crack. Splinters flew across the floor as the cold night air burst inside. Smoke from the fire swirled wildly, mixing with mist rolling in from the open doorway. Two tall figures stepped into the cabin. Their armor was dark, plated with strange symbols, and their glowing visors cut through the shadows like knives. Each carried a weapon that hummed with low, deadly energy. John didn't wait. He fired. The rifle's roar shattered the silence. One of the armored soldiers staggered as the bullet slammed into its shoulder. It wasn't enough to kill, but it made them hesitate. "Run," John shouted to the mother. The alien woman grabbed her child and scrambled toward the back of the cabin, her silver hands trembling but strong. The boy clutched the glowing bracelet to his chest, its light flaring brighter with every second. The second soldier lunged forward, swinging its weapon at John. He dove aside, the blade-like energy slicing into the wooden wall, scorching it black. The smell of burning wood filled the cabin. John rolled and fired again, hitting the soldier in the leg. The alien growled in pain but kept moving, heavy boots pounding across the floor. "Go!" John yelled again, his voice hard, his chest burning with adrenaline. The mother pushed through the back door, vanishing into the night with her child. Now John was alone. The first soldier regained balance, aiming its weapon at him. John ducked behind the table as a blast tore through it, splinters exploding in every direction. His ears rang from the sound. "Come on, then," he growled, teeth clenched. He grabbed a heavy iron poker from beside the fire. When the next soldier charged, John swung with all his strength. The poker smashed into the alien's visor, cracking it with a sharp snap. The soldier stumbled back, sparks dancing across its helmet. John fired one last round into the soldier's chest. It fell hard, crashing through a chair, the cabin floor trembling under the weight. But the second one was already recovering, snarling in its harsh alien tongue. Its glowing visor turned toward him like a predator scenting blood. John's rifle clicked empty. He cursed under his breath. No bullets left. Only grit, the soldier charged. John grabbed a lantern from the shelf and hurled it with all his might. The glass shattered against the alien's armor, fire spilling across its chest. The soldier roared, thrashing as flames licked up its side. John didn't wait. He ran out the back, his boots pounding against the dirt. The forest loomed ahead, dark and thick with mist. He could hear the mother and child not far away, the sound of hurried footsteps, the child's sobbing breaths. But behind him came heavy thuds. The second soldier was still alive, still chasing. John sprinted faster, his lungs burning, his muscles screaming. Branches slapped against his face as he pushed through the undergrowth. He spotted the mother ahead, crouched behind a fallen log with her child trying to stay hidden. "Keep moving," John barked. "Don't stop." The boy's bracelet pulsed like a beacon, brighter and brighter. John knew it was a warning. More soldiers were coming. The mother's eyes locked on his. "You can't fight them all." John stopped beside them, raising the empty rifle like a club. His breath came in hard, ragged gasps. "Maybe not. But I'll slow them down." The soldier's glowing visor appeared through the trees, scanning, hunting. Its weapon crackled with energy, lighting the mist. The mother shook her head fiercely. "You will die." John's voice hardened. "I already died once. When I lost her." His eyes flicked to the boy. "Not this time. Not this child." The mother's lips parted, her eyes shining with something beyond fear, something like respect. The soldier stomped closer, raising its weapon. John leapt forward with a roar, slamming the rifle butt into its chest. The impact forced the soldier back a step, but it swung in return, its energy blade grazing John's arm. Pain shot through him, hot and sharp, but he didn't stop. He fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. Every strike, every swing was fueled by years of grief, anger, and buried strength. The alien soldier stumbled, unprepared for such raw fury. John pressed the attack, shoving it back against a tree, slamming the broken rifle stock into its visor until sparks burst again. But then, another sound, Boots. More of them. The forest trembled with their approach. The mother clutched her child tightly, her voice breaking. "John, there are more!" The boy's bracelet blazed like a star, its symbols burning bright. The glow spilled across the trees, lighting the forest as though dawn itself had come. John turned his head, sweat and blood streaking his face. He saw the mother, the child, the hope in their glowing eyes. And then he heard the soldiers' growls closing in. He planted his feet, raised his weapon like a blade, and bared his teeth in defiance. "If they want you," he growled, "they'll have to go through me." The forest erupted with shadows as more armored figures emerged from the mist. The battle was just beginning. The forest shook with heavy footsteps. More soldiers emerged through the mist, their glowing visors cutting through the trees like lanterns of death. Their weapons hummed, ready to strike. John stood tall despite the blood dripping from his wounded arm. His breath came hard, his body ached, but his spirit burned like fire. He held the broken rifle like a club, feet firm in the dirt, eyes sharp with defiance. Behind him, the alien mother crouched low with her child pressed against her chest. Her voice was a desperate whisper. "We cannot win this fight. There are too many." John did not look back. "Maybe, but we're not running anymore." The soldiers fanned out, their armor gleaming in the pale light of the moon. They moved slowly like wolves circling prey, confident in their power. One raised its weapon, pointing straight at the mother and child. John's heart clenched. He moved in front of them, shielding them with his own body. "Over my dead body," he growled. The weapon began to charge, its hum rising in pitch. The air around it shimmered with deadly energy. And then, it happened. The boy's bracelet blazed with sudden blinding light. The strange symbols flared like burning stars, so bright the soldiers staggered and shielded their visors. The forest lit up as if struck by lightning. John squinted against the glow. He turned his head toward the boy, and what he saw stole the breath from his lungs. The child was standing now, no longer hiding. His small frame shook, his glowing eyes blazing brighter than ever. The bracelet floated just above his palm, spinning slowly, humming with deep power. The soldiers froze, confusion flashing in their movements. One barked a command, but their voices faltered. The boy's lips parted. His voice, once small and trembling, now rang out strong, filled with echoes of something older than him. "Leave us." The word rippled through the forest like thunder. The ground trembled beneath their feet. The nearest soldier stumbled, its weapon sparking, its armor shaking as if unseen hands were pulling at it. The boy raised his hand higher, and the air itself seemed to bend. Branches cracked. Stones lifted off the ground. The trees groaned as if bowing to some unseen force. The mother's eyes widened in shock. She pulled her hands to her mouth, whispering, "No, it cannot be." John's heart pounded as he watched the boy. This wasn't just light. This wasn't just warning. This was power. Raw, dangerous power. The boy stepped forward, his glowing eyes fixed on the soldiers. His small voice boomed again, layered with something not human, something vast. "You will not take us." Energy burst from the bracelet, sweeping through the clearing like a storm. The nearest soldier was thrown back, smashing against a tree with bone-breaking force. Its armor cracked, sparks flying from its weapon as it lay still. Another soldier tried to advance, but the ground itself split open before it, roots surging upward, twisting around its legs, pulling it down. The alien roared in rage, struggling helplessly. The others hesitated now, their confidence cracked. Fear slipped into their movements. John stared, stunned but amazed. "Kid, what are you?" The mother's voice shook. "He is more than me. More than our people. The soldiers hunt us not just because we fled, but because of him. He carries a gift they fear." John glanced at her. "Gift? That looks like a storm waiting to break." She shook her head. "Not a storm, a weapon. A hope." The boy raised both hands now, and the light from the bracelet surged brighter, louder, until the whole forest shook. The soldiers tried to fire their weapons, but their blasts fizzled out, swallowed by the energy field radiating from the child. One soldier fell to its knees, its armor sparking, its visor cracking under invisible pressure. Another turned and fled into the mist, fear overcoming training. The boy's voice thundered one last command. "Go!" The remaining soldiers staggered back, retreating into the forest, their glowing visors vanishing into the shadows. And then, silence. The light dimmed. The bracelet floated back down into the boy's palm, its symbols fading. His eyes dulled, the glow flickering weakly. His knees buckled. The mother rushed forward, catching him before he fell. "Easy, little star, easy." She held him tight, tears running down her silver cheeks. John lowered his rifle slowly, his chest still heaving. He stared at the boy, at the small figure that had just turned soldiers into shadows. The forest smelled of smoke and scorched earth. Broken branches littered the ground. The air was thick with the echo of power. Finally John spoke, his voice low and rough. "You saved us." The mother shook her head, holding her son close. "No, he revealed himself. And now they know. They will send more, stronger ones." John's jaw tightened. He looked into the trees, into the darkness that hid more enemies yet to come, then let them come. But deep inside, even he knew the truth. This was far from over. The boy stirred weakly, whispering in his mother's arms. Did I do good, Mama?" Her voice broke, tender and trembling. "Yes, little star. You did more than good." John stood beside them, his hand resting on his rifle, his eyes hard as stone. For the first time he understood. This wasn't just about hiding. It wasn't just about survival. This child carried something greater, something that could change everything, and John had just made himself part of it. The forest was quiet at last. The glow of the boy's power had faded, leaving only pale moonlight through the branches. Smoke from the soldiers' weapons lingered in the cold air, mixing with the damp smell of earth. Broken trees and scorched ground marked the place where the child had stood like a star in the night. John leaned on his rifle, blood dripping down his arm, his chest rising and falling in heavy breaths. His body was worn, but his eyes never left the mother and child. The boy lay weak in his mother's arms, his glowing eyes now dim, flickering like a dying ember. She stroked his hair, whispering in her strange, gentle language, her voice breaking with love and worry. John stepped closer, his boots crunching on the frosted leaves. "Is he alive?" The mother looked up at him. Tears shone on her silver skin, but her voice steadied. "Yes, but the power takes much from him. He cannot do this often. He is only a child." John nodded slowly. The truth weighed heavy. The boy wasn't just a refugee. He was a target, a prize, a weapon that soldiers from another world would never stop hunting. The boy stirred, his voice faint. "Mama, are they gone?" The mother kissed his forehead. "Yes, little star. For now." The boy's eyes fluttered shut again, sinking into exhausted sleep. John looked around the forest, his soldiers' instincts sharp. They'll come back. More of them. Better armed. You can't just keep running. The mother held her child tighter, her jaw trembling. "We have been running for so long. I have no strength left to fight, but I cannot let them take him." John stood still, the weight of her words sinking deep. He knew the feeling of losing someone too well. He remembered his wife's last breath, the helplessness that crushed him. He had sworn never to love, never to protect again, because loss hurt more than death. But here in front of him was a mother with the same fire he once had. And a child, small but burning with a power the galaxy itself seemed to fear. He couldn't turn away. Not this time. John's voice was rough but steady. "You won't have to run alone anymore." The mother's eyes widened, filled with both surprise and doubt. "What do you mean?" John crouched down beside her, looking at the boy's sleeping face. "I mean, if they're coming, they'll have to go through me too. I've lost one family already. I won't lose another." Her lips parted. She stared at him, searching his face as if unsure whether he spoke truth or madness. "You would fight for us? Even when it is not your battle?" John met her gaze without flinching. "It is now." For a long moment, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the mother's eyes softened. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You are not like the others. Humans. I thought your kind feared what they did not understand." John let out a faint, tired laugh. "Most do, but I'm too stubborn for that." The mother lowered her head, brushing her cheek against her child's hair. "Then perhaps you are what we needed all along." The fire in John's chest grew warmer, steadier. For years he had been nothing but a ghost, living alone with his grief. But now for the first time he felt alive again. Not because of himself, but because he had someone to fight for. He rose to his feet, shoulders squared. "We need to move. This place isn't safe anymore." The mother stood with her child cradled against her chest. Where will we go? John scanned the dark forest. In his mind, old maps and soldier's instincts returned. I know hidden places. Old routes no one uses anymore. If we keep moving, stay clever, we'll stay ahead of them. And when they come, we'll make them bleed for every step. The mother's eyes glistened, but this time with hope. She nodded. Then we will follow you. The boy stirred again, whispering in his sleep. Mama, the human. He's family now? The mother kissed his brow. She looked at John and gave the smallest smile. Yes, little star. He is family now. John felt a lump rise in his throat. He turned his face away, hiding it, and adjusted the strap of his rifle. Come on, dawn's not far. We move before the hunters return. The three of them stepped into the mist, leaving the ruined cabin and broken battlefield behind. The forest stretched ahead, dark and endless. But together they walked, an alien mother, her child, and a human who had lost everything but found something again. As they disappeared into the trees, the boy's bracelet gave one last soft pulse of light. Not in warning this time, but in quiet peace. The galaxy might come hunting. War might follow their steps. But for that moment, they were not fugitives. They were not broken. They were a family. And the universe would soon learn that nothing, no soldiers, no armies, no hunters, was stronger than that.